Dr. Amanda Morgan hadn't slept in 36 hours, but the coffee in her hand had gone cold, forgotten. Her eyes were fixed on the signal pattern pulsing across her monitor at the HFY Radio Observatory. After 15 years of scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life, she'd gotten used to false positives. This was different. "Hey, Bill," she called out, her voice echoing through the empty facility. "Come look at this." Dr. William Hayes, her colleague of 10 years, shuffled over, his own coffee leaving a trail of steam in the pre-dawn air. "Another pulsar?" he asked, stifling a yawn. "No." Amanda pointed to the rhythmic pattern. "This is structured, mathematical, and it's getting stronger." Bill's exhaustion vanished as he studied the readout. "That's impossible. The signal strength is increasing exponentially, unless they're getting closer," Amanda finished. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth was tracking the signal. The pattern had resolved itself into a clear mathematical sequence, the kind of thing SETI researchers had dreamed about for decades. But something felt off. The signal wasn't a greeting or a mathematical proof. It was a countdown. At exactly 900 UTC, the sky changed. Massive ships, each the size of Manhattan, materialized above every major city on Earth. They hung there, silent, their hulls reflecting sunlight like artificial moons. The internet exploded with videos, theories, and memes, humanity processing the impossible through humor and speculation. The first transmission came 6 hours later. It appeared on every screen, every phone, every digital billboard globally. The aliens called themselves the Hegemony, a coalition of 47 civilized species. Their spokesman, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple eyes, spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth," the creature said, its voice resonating with artificial harmony. "Your species has been evaluated and found wanting. Your technological development is chaotic, your biological form inefficient, and your social structures primitive. In accordance with Galactic Protocol 7249b, you are hereby offered the opportunity to submit to vassalage under the Hegemony. Your compliance will ensure your species' survival and eventual elevation. Your resistance will result in immediate extinction. You have 6 Earth hours to respond." The UN Security Council convened an emergency session. Military leaders from every major power huddled in war rooms. Religious leaders called for peace, while doomsday preppers smugly opened their bunkers. Dr. Morgan found herself rushed to the UN building in New York, one of dozens of scientists called to advise the emergency session. As she studied the Hegemony's message, something caught her attention. "They're lying," she announced to the assembled leaders. "Look at their language choice. They're trying too hard to sound superior. This isn't a standard protocol. It's personal." Jessica Chen, a junior diplomat from the American delegation, raised her hand. "They're bullies," she said simply. "And they expect us to fold." The room erupted in argument. Some advocated immediate surrender to preserve humanity. Others called for full military mobilization. The debate raged until there were only 30 minutes left in the Hegemony's deadline. Then, to everyone's surprise, Chen stood up again. "Send them this," she said, sliding a paper across the table. The Secretary General read it, blinked, and then began to laugh. At exactly 1500 UTC, humanity sent its response to the Hegemony. No diplomatic flourishes, no threats, no begging. Just 3 words that would change galactic history. How about no? The Hegemony's response was instant. Their ship's engines flared to life, casting ominous shadows over the cities below. But as they prepared their first strike, they missed something crucial. They hadn't noticed the determination in the humans' response. They hadn't recognized that humanity's primitive nature meant they'd been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars. And they certainly hadn't realized that Dr. Morgan's team had already cracked their superior communication encryption. As the alien ships charged their weapons, humanity was ready. The war that would make the galaxy surrender was about to begin. The hegemony's first strike was textbook perfect, by their standards. Their quantum-guided missiles streaked through Earth's atmosphere, targeting military installations with surgical precision. Admiral Vexthor, commanding the North American assault fleet, allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as the weapons descended. Then his sensor officer screamed, "Sir, energy signatures everywhere. The debris field, it's moving." What the hegemony had dismissed as space junk, dead satellites, and random orbital debris suddenly came alive. Decades of secret launches, disguised as failed satellites and space trash, revealed their true nature. Humanity's orbital defense grid activated, and the sky lit up like the 4th of July. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper, stationed at NORAD's Deep Space Monitoring Facility, watched her screens with fierce pride. "That's right, you arrogant bastards. Humans aren't the only ones who can play pretend." The alien missiles encountered something they'd never been programmed to handle: improvisation. Simple kinetic weapons, essentially fancy rocks in space, disrupted their quantum guidance. Electromagnetic pulses, broadcast from seemingly dead satellites, scrambled their targeting systems. And then came humanity's real surprise. "Ghost Fleet, you are clear to engage," Cooper transmitted. Hidden in the dark side of the moon, humanity's secret space force emerged. These weren't the sleek, advanced ships the hegemony expected. They were ugly, practical vessels built in underground facilities by every major nation on Earth. Ships designed not to win a space battle through superior technology, but to win through sheer human stubbornness. The Japanese destroyer Yamato AI, named after both the legendary battleship and the famous Annin spaceship, made first contact. Captain Kenji Tanaka had simple orders: make it count. His ship, already damaged by alien defense fire, aimed straight for the hegemony's flagship. For Earth, Tanaka transmitted, then cut all communications. His ship, engines burning well past safety limits, accelerated to near-light speed. Admiral Vexthor watched in horror as the primitive vessel approached. "Impossible," he muttered. "They wouldn't." But they would. The Yamato AI collided with the flagship, converting itself into energy in an explosion that temporarily outshone the sun. The blast knocked out satellites across half the planet. When visibility returned, the hegemony's neat formation was in chaos. The flagship was gone, along with 3 support vessels. More importantly, their carefully coordinated attack plan was in shambles. "Status report," barked General Linda Martinez at the Pentagon's new Space Command Center. The holographic display showed green dots representing Earth's forces, red for the hegemony. Despite being outnumbered 10-1, the green dots were holding their own. "Sir, Ghost Fleet reporting 40% losses," an aide reported. "But hegemony casualties at 38% and rising. They don't know how to handle ships that won't retreat." That was humanity's advantage. The hegemony's warriors, products of civilizations that had eliminated warfare millennia ago, fought by computer-optimized protocols. They expected enemies to surrender when defeat was mathematically certain. Instead, they faced humans who treated mathematical certainty as a personal challenge. A hegemony cruiser, crippled by multiple impacts, began broadcasting surrender signals. 3 human ships ignored them, ramming the larger vessel simultaneously. The resulting explosion created an EMP that disabled 2 more alien ships, which were promptly captured by Earth forces. "Message from the Hegemony Command," Martinez's aide announced. They're asking why we haven't activated our planetary shields." Martinez laughed. "Tell them we don't have any. Tell them everything they've seen so far was accomplished with duct tape, determination, and about 60 years of sci-fi movies as inspiration." The first day of combat ended with the hegemony fleet in retreat, falling back to regroup and reassess. They had lost nearly half their ships to an enemy they'd considered primitive. Worse, they had lost their aura of invincibility. In the smoking ruins of NORAD, Lieutenant Cooper sent one final message to the retreating aliens. Come back anytime. Next time, we'll actually try. The hegemony was about to learn that their first mistake wasn't attacking Earth. Their first mistake was giving humanity time to prepare. And now, they were about to learn why humans wrote so many stories about beating impossible odds. Staff Sergeant Jake Cooper wiped mud from his face and grinned at his squad. They were dug into the Shenandoah Valley's dense forest, waiting. Above them, massive hegemony dropships descended through the dawn mist, their anti-gravity drives humming like angry hornets. Remember, folks, Cooper whispered into his tactical comm. These guys evolved from high species. They think like a collective. We're gonna show them how Americans hunt. Aura, came the quiet response from 30 Marines scattered through the trees. The hegemony ground forces were beautiful in their precision. 8-foot-tall warriors in crystalline armor emerged from their ships in perfect formation, their movements synchronized like a deadly ballet. Their commander, visible through a transparent helmet, had mantis-like features and compound eyes that scanned the terrain methodically. Cooper keyed his radio. Hey Williams, you remember that hunting trip last fall? Private Jessica Williams' voice crackled back. The one where we used deer calls to bring them right to us. That's the one. Let's go hunting. Williams activated a modified speaker system. The sound of alien weapon fire and death screams, recorded from earlier battles, echoed through the valley. The hegemony forces immediately moved toward it, their formation perfect, their tactics textbook. Like clockwork, Cooper muttered. Martinez, they're coming to you. Corporal Martinez had spent 6 hours burying improvised devices in the valley floor. Not bombs. That's what they'd expect. Instead, he'd created a network of speakers and vibration generators salvaged from teenage subwoofer systems. When activated, they disrupted the crystalline resonance of the alien armor. The first line of hegemony troops stepped into the trap zone. Martinez hit the switch. The ground pulsed with bass deep enough to shake teeth. The alien armor, designed to withstand plasma bolts, began to crack from harmonic resonance. What kind of primitive? The alien commander began, before Cooper's squad opened fire. They didn't fire at the troops. They fired at the trees. Massive oaks, strategically weakened during the night, came crashing down. The hegemony forces, trained to fight in open formations, found themselves separated, confused, and being picked off by enemies they couldn't see. They're in the trees. An alien warrior screamed, firing wildly at movement above. Nah, Cooper drawled, dropping behind the soldier. We're everywhere. The Marines moved like ghosts through their own trap, using hunting techniques passed down through generations. They appeared, struck, and vanished into the undergrowth. They used turkey calls to communicate position changes. They left false trails and dummy targets. The alien commander tried to reorganize his forces. Form up. Standard defense pattern. Cooper's voice came through their communications. Y'all ever hear about what happened to the British when they tried fighting in formation in these forests? The battle lasted 3 hours. The hegemony lost 2,000 troops to 30 Marines who suffered 0 casualties. But it wasn't the loss that terrified the aliens. It was the laughter. Throughout the fight, they could hear humans joking, calling targets like they were scoring points in a game. When the last alien survivor was captured, he asked Cooper a question that would be repeated across the galaxy. Why do you smile when you kill? Cooper spat tobacco juice on the alien's boots. Son, we ain't smiling 'cause we're killing. We're smiling 'cause you thought humans would fight fair. The footage from the Battle of Shenandoah Valley, captured by Marine helmet cams, spread through the hegemony's forces like a virus. They watched in horror as their primitive enemies turned the environment itself into a weapon. They saw humans moving in ways their combat computers insisted were tactically unsound, yet winning. That evening, Cooper sat cleaning his rifle and filed his after-action report. It read simply, engaged enemy force using standard hunting tactics. Enemy doesn't understand concept of camouflage or individual initiative. Recommend expanded use of small unit guerrilla warfare. P.S. They really hate banjo music. Request permission to incorporate psychological warfare via bluegrass. The hegemony would soon learn that every human was a potential guerrilla fighter, every tradition a potential tactic, and every piece of culture a potential weapon. They had expected to fight soldiers. Instead, they were fighting an entire species that had turned survival into an art form. Grand Admiral Zexthar of the Hegemony Elite Force stood before the High Council, his scales dulled with shame. We must deploy the vanguard. The humans. They don't break. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. The vanguard hadn't been needed in 10 millennia. Yet here they were, forced to unleash their ultimate warriors against a species that hadn't even colonized their own solar system. On Earth, the U.S. Montana limped through the debris field of what used to be the hegemony's Third Fleet. Captain Rebecca Chen watched through her one functioning viewport as escape pods flickered past. Her ship was literally held together by emergency foam sealant and the stubbornness of her engineering crew. Status report, she croaked through the smoke-filled bridge. Ma'am, life support at 40%. Hull integrity at 15%. Weapons, her tactical officer coughed. Weapons completely gone. But we're still flying. Good enough. Plot intercept course with their command ship. Captain, her XO interrupted. We have no weapons. Chen smiled, blood trickling from a cut above her eye. We have us. That's weapon enough. Before she could ram her dying ship into the enemy, space itself seemed to tear open. Through the dimensional rift emerged the vanguard, the hegemony's elite force. Their ships were living metal, piloted by warriors genetically engineered for perfect combat efficiency. This is War Prince Ixal of the Vanguard. A voice boomed across all frequencies. Surrender now, and your species will be preserved in our biological archives. The response came not from military command, but from a civilian channel. Some teenager in Nebraska had hacked the emergency broadcast system. The ancient human song blasted across space. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Did they just rickroll the galaxy's most elite fighting force? Chen's tactical officer whispered in awe. The Vanguard's response was devastating. Their bioships unleashed weapons that bent physics. Earth's orbital defenses melted away. The moon base, humanity's pride, cracked like an egg. But as the Vanguard pressed their advantage, they discovered something terrifying. Humans didn't stop. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Crews that should have retreated charged forward. The Montana, now little more than a cockpit with engines, managed to blind 3 Vanguard ships by detonating its coffee supplies and their sensor arrays. Impact in 5 seconds, Shen announced calmly as her ship hurtled toward a Vanguard dreadnought. It's been an honor. The Montana never reached its target. A tractor beam caught it at the last second. War Prince Ixal himself had ordered it captured for study. He needed to understand why the crew hadn't activated their emergency teleporters. You don't have emergency teleporters, he realized with horror during the interrogation. You were actually going to die. First time? Chen asked with a bloody smile. The Vanguard's bioships, linked directly to their pilots' minds, began experiencing unprecedented emotions: doubt, fear, and confusion. They watched humans survive in vacuum far longer than possible, fighting with punctured lungs and broken bones. Their combat computers couldn't process an enemy that treated near-certain death as merely a suggestion. In his flagship, War Prince Ixal reviewed combat footage with growing dread. Humans had no genetic engineering, no neural links, no biological optimization. They were using outdated weapons, improvised tactics, and what they called duct tape. Yet they fought with an intensity that bordered on madness. Why? He demanded of Chen. Why continue fighting when defeat is statistically assured? Statistics. Chen laughed. Let me tell you about a city called Stalingrad, about a valley called Thermopylae, about a morning at Lexington. Humans have been defeating statistical certainty since we invented the spear. The Vanguard, for the first time in their existence, called for a strategic retreat, not because they couldn't win. Their superior numbers and technology guaranteed eventual victory. They retreated because the cost would be too high. Every human ship they destroyed seemed to inspire 10 more to fight harder. In the aftermath, War Prince Ixel filed his report to the High Council. It contained only one sentence: "They are not like us." The galaxy was about to learn just how true that was. Admiral Jessica Martinez stood in the makeshift war room aboard the last surviving aircraft carrier, U.S. Gerald R. Ford, staring at a holographic display of Earth's orbital space. What remained of humanity's military leadership had gathered for what many believed would be their final strategy session. "Ladies and gentlemen," Martinez announced, "the Vanguard has us outgunned, outmanned, and surrounded. So we're going to do something monumentally stupid." She pulled up an image of civilian cargo ships, hundreds of them, from massive container vessels to private yachts. "Meet our new Navy." General Thompson of the Air Force spoke first. "With all due respect, Admiral, those ships aren't armed." "No," Martinez grinned, "they're better than armed. They're loaded with speakers." Operation Crazy Train launched at dawn. Every surviving civilian vessel, hastily fitted with salvaged alien propulsion tech, lifted into orbit. As they rose, they broadcast a coordinated assault of human music that made the hegemony's bioships writhe in agony. Now playing, "Highway to Hell," flashed across every human command screen as AC/DC's guitars shredded through space. The Vanguard's bioships, sensitive to sonic vibrations, even in vacuum through electromagnetic conversion, experienced what could only be described as a massive migraine. Their neural-linked pilots screamed as human rock music interfered with their control systems. "Launch the buses," Martinez ordered. That's when the real insanity began. Yellow school buses, reinforced with scavenged alien tech and piloted remotely, streamed from Earth's atmosphere. Each bus carried a payload of what human engineers called chaos bombs, devices that disrupted the Vanguard's perfect battle formations with random gravitational pulses. They're using primitive ground transportation as weapons. War Prince Ixel watched in disbelief. Their tactical computers must be malfunctioning. "Bold of you to assume we use tactical computers," Martinez transmitted back. "Pila killer element DRS. The civilian fleet, moving in patterns that defied conventional combat logic, drove straight into the Vanguard formation. Cargo ships deliberately rammed bioships while blasting metal music. A yacht piloted by a teenager from Miami managed to trap 3 enemy vessels in a gravity well while playing Baby Shark on repeat. The Vanguard's tactical AI suffered its first-ever system crash, trying to predict human movements. It simply couldn't compute warfare that incorporated dance music and weaponized public transportation. Status report. Martinez called out as her carrier, now improbably in orbit, shuddered from nearby explosions. "Ma'am, we've lost 40% of the civilian fleet," her tactical officer reported. "But Vanguard formations are breaking. They seem to be covering their ears." Do they even have ears? The battle reached its crescendo when a converted cruise ship, its hull still decorated for a Caribbean vacation, managed to entangle its party streamers in a bioship's sensor array. The resulting confusion caused 3 Vanguard vessels to collide while trying to avoid what they thought was a new human weapon. "This is Marshal Zexthar." The Vanguard commander's transmission crackled through the chaos. "What kind of warfare is this?" Martinez keyed her mic. "We call it a party, Marshal. Care to dance?" The tide turned when the school buses, which the Vanguard had dismissed as a distraction, revealed their true purpose. Each bus released thousands of inflatable decoys, creating a cloud of potential targets that overwhelmed the bioship's targeting systems. "They're using balloon animals as countermeasures," a Vanguard officer reported, his voice breaking. "Our sensors can't distinguish the real threats from are those rubber ducks." By sunset, the Vanguard fleet had retreated to the dark side of Mars. Their bioships, supposedly the perfect synthesis of organic and mechanical engineering, had been defeated by what one alien officer described as organized chaos conducted to musical accompaniment. Martinez stood on her carrier's deck, now retrofitted with an emergency force field, and watched the last of the enemy ships flee. Behind her, the civilian fleet limped home, still blasting triumph songs into space. "Let them spread the word," she said to her crew. "Earth doesn't just fight wars. We turn them into rock concerts." In the years that followed, the battle would become known across the galaxy as the Symphony of Chaos. The hegemony would add a new protocol to their combat manuals. If humans start playing music, retreat immediately. High Inquisitor Cthax of the hegemony's Cultural Analysis Division watched another intercepted Earth broadcast with growing horror. His tentacles trembled as he made his report to the High Council. This entertainment program, called Professional Wrestling, suggests humans regularly break their own bones for amusement. He gestured at the screen showing WWE WrestleMania. And they're young. Their young cheer for it. The council chamber fell silent as they watched a human perform a people's elbow. A junior analyst fainted. But that was just the beginning. The hegemony's intelligence division had begun a thorough analysis of human entertainment to understand their enemy better. Each discovery was more disturbing than the last. They create simulations of their own extinction for entertainment, an analyst reported, showing clips from post-apocalyptic movies. They imagine thousands of scenarios where they face overwhelming odds, and then they make sequels. Commander Vexthar interrupted the briefing. "Surely these are training documents." "No, sir," Cthax's voice quivered. "This is what they watch for relaxation." But it gets worse. We've discovered their horror genre. The footage that followed caused 3 council members to request immediate retirement. Humans didn't just face monsters in their entertainment. They invented new ones. They imagined terrors beyond anything the hegemony had conceived in its 50,000-year history, then shared these visions with their children as campfire stories. This explains their combat behavior, a military psychologist concluded. They've been mentally preparing for apocalyptic scenarios since they invented storytelling. Every human is essentially pre-traumatized. Then came the report on human pets. They keep predators in their homes, Cthax explained, showing images of cats and dogs. They select carnivorous animals, bring them into their living spaces, and call them good boys. Look at this footage. The council watched a human child hugging the German shepherd. The small human is embracing a descendant of wolves, Cthax continued. They've taken apex predators and turned them into companions who play with toys. The final straw came when they discovered human extreme sports. They jump from orbital platforms for recreation, a bewildered analyst reported. They climb frozen mountains without survival gear because it's more authentic. They surf on liquid mercury waves during plasma storms because, and I quote, "It looks rad." The Psychological Warfare Division was in shambles. Their best attempts to demoralize humanity had backfired spectacularly. When they broadcast images of their most fearsome warriors, humans responded with fan art. When they attempted to terrorize population centers, humans organized apocalypse parties. "Sir," a junior researcher burst into the council chamber. "We've discovered something called Florida Man." After reviewing the reports, the hegemony's chief psychiatrist requested a transfer to deep space research. "How do you intimidate a species that invented parkour?" she asked in her resignation letter. The breaking point came during a routine scan of human social media. In response to the ongoing alien invasion, humans had created something called memes. They were making jokes about their own possible extinction. Thax's final report to the council was brief. "They're not insane. They've simply evolved beyond our capacity to comprehend sanity. A species that invented hot sauce, a chemical weapon they voluntarily put in their food, cannot be understood through conventional analysis." The hegemony's remaining ships received new orders, maintain distance from Earth, and avoid provoking the humans. Several alien species formally declared neutrality, citing serious concerns about human concepts of entertainment. In orbit around Mars, a Vanguard captain watched Earth through long-range sensors. He observed humans rebuilding their cities while hosting post-apocalyptic themed parties. In the ruins of their civilization, they were already creating art about their victory. Why aren't they afraid? He asked his ship's eye. The AI, after analyzing all available data, responded with a quote from human literature. "We're the monsters other monsters warned their children about." The captain ordered an immediate retreat to safe distance. As his ship departed, human broadcasts followed them into space. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Earth's Invasion Defense channel. The galaxy was learning. Humanity's greatest defense wasn't their weapons or tactics. It was their completely incomprehensible nature. President Lisa Chen hadn't expected to host an alien prince in her backyard. Yet here she was, grilling hamburgers, while Prince Zaxlor of the Hegemony watched with a mix of terror and fascination. You deliberately burn animal protein over combusted plant matter?" he asked, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the grill's flames. "Want one?" Chen flipped a burger. "They're Angus beef. My secret is a little Worcestershire sauce and garlic powder." The prince's translator struggled with Worcestershire before giving up entirely. He watched in horror as the president of Earth's most powerful nation casually manipulated fire and raw meat with metal tools, occasionally taking sips from something called a beer. "I expected torture," Zaxlor admitted, his secondary eyes blinking rapidly. "Oh, this isn't torture," Chen laughed, adding cheese to the burgers. "Though my husband might disagree with my cooking skills. Now let's talk about why you folks really attacked Earth." The prince shifted uncomfortably in the lawn chair, which creaked under his armored form. "Our protocols dictated." "Cut the diplomatic nonsense," Chen interrupted, handing him a plate. "We both know this wasn't about protocols. You were scared of us, weren't you?" Zaxlor stared at the burger as if it might attack him. "Your species, you're chaotic, unpredictable. You have no unified government, yet you fought as one. You have inferior technology, yet you turned our own advantages against us. He paused. "You smile before attacking." Chen took a bite of her burger, letting the prince squirm. Around them, Secret Service agents chatted with hegemony guards, some showing them how to play cornhole. One alien warrior was cautiously attempting to eat a hot dog. "Here's what I don't get," Chen said, wiping her mouth. "You folks have faster than light travel, antimatter weapons, and whatever that psychological warfare stuff was supposed to be. Yet you never figured out something simple. Most species just want to be left alone to do their own thing." "But your entertainment broadcasts," the prince protested. "The simulated conflicts, the war games, the constant preparation for battle. Have you considered that we do that stuff because it's fun?" Chen grinned. "Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. Honestly, it sounds like way too much paperwork. We just want to explore space, make movies, trade with friendly aliens, and maybe find out if there's a spaced version of barbecue out there." The concept of military advancement without conquest seemed to short-circuit something in the prince's worldview. But what's the point?" "The point is living, Your Highness. Making art, telling stories, inventing new foods, playing games. Sure, we'll fight like hell if someone threatens us, but that's not our goal. We're explorers, creators, and occasionally huge pains in the ass. But we're not conquerors." A commotion from the lawn interrupted them. The hegemony guard had caught the cornhole bag and scored his first point. To everyone's surprise, he let out a very human-like whoop of joy. "See that?" Chen pointed. "That's humanity's real superpower. We can turn enemies into friends over a game and a burger. Want to try your sandwich?" Zaxlor, perhaps realizing that refusing might restart the war, took a careful bite. His sensory apparatus went wild with the new experience. "This is primitive but fascinating. What is this red substance?" "Ketchup," Wait till you try hot sauce. As the afternoon wore on, more barriers broke down. Alien warriors learned Earth games. Human agents shared stories of their families. Someone started teaching the hegemony guards how to line dance. Before leaving, Prince Zaxlor made one last observation. Your species is terrifying in battle because you treat war like a game. But you're even more terrifying in peace because you treat everyone like potential friends. Chen walked him to his shuttle. Spread the word, Your Highness. Earth is open for friendship, trade, and cultural exchange. But if anyone else tries what you did, she let the threat hang. No need, the prince assured her. I'm adding a new protocol. If humans invite you to a barbecue, accept. If they show up with warships, run. As the alien delegation departed, Chen watched their ships disappear into the evening sky. Her phone buzzed. NASA reported that 17 alien species had already requested trade negotiations and cultural exchange programs. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced to her staff, I believe this calls for another barbecue. 5 years after the Barbecue Peace Treaty, as humans had dubbed it, the Galactic Cultural Exchange Center opened in downtown Singapore. Dr. Amanda Morgan, the same scientist who'd first detected the hegemony's approach, now served as Earth's chief sinological relations officer. No, Ambassador corrects. She explained patiently to a mantis-like alien, humans don't actually have a hive mind. We just all decided individually that cat videos are entertaining. The center's main hall buzzed with activity. Alien tourists photographed everything, particularly fascinated by the Historical Earth Combat Techniques exhibition. A group of hegemony scholars stood transfixed before a display of medieval weapons. They fought with sharpened metal. For fun, one whispered in horror. Wait till they discover the Renaissance Fair next week. Morgan's assistant whispered. The galaxy had changed dramatically since the war. The hegemony's strict protocols had given way to what they reluctantly called the human approach, a much more flexible system that actually allowed for cultural differences. Trade flourished, particularly after aliens discovered coffee. Breaking news. The Holo display announced Earth's first intergalactic restaurant chain, Space Taco Bell, opens its 1,000th location on Proxima Centauri II. Local food critics call it terrifyingly addictive. In orbit, the U.S. Montana, now restored and serving as a museum ship, hosted tours for alien military cadets. Captain Chen, still commanding despite numerous promotion offers, enjoyed telling the story personally. And that's when we realized we could use the coffee maker as an improvised torpedo. She told wide-eyed visitors. Any questions? How did you know it would work? A young hegemony cadet asked. We didn't. That's the fun part. The war had left its mark, but not in ways anyone expected. Humanity's reputation paradoxically made them the galaxy's preferred mediators in conflicts. After all, who better to negotiate peace than a species that could turn any situation, even potential extinction, into an opportunity for innovation? In the UN's newly established Galactic Affairs Office, President Chen, now serving as Earth's first galactic ambassador, reviewed the latest reports. 17 alien species had adopted human music, though with warnings about potential psychotropic effects. The galaxy's first interspecies rock band, Humans and Friends, had topped the charts. A hegemony prince had won Earth's hot dog eating contest, causing a minor diplomatic crisis. Mars now hosted the galaxy's largest paintball arena. Alien linguistics experts still couldn't explain yeet, but used it anyway. Ma'am, her aide interrupted, the Hegemony Council has approved your proposal for the first Galactic Olympics, though they have concerns about the extreme sports category. Chen smiled. Tell them we'll tone down the skateboarding. Maybe just half the usual ramps. The real victory, though, was visible in the small things. Alien children played hopscotch with human kids in international parks. Hegemony warriors attended yoga classes. Someone had taught a group of silicon-based lifeforms to do the Macarena. at the annual Galactic Peace Conference, War Prince Ixel, now retired and running a successful chain of fusion restaurants, summed it up best. We thought humans were dangerous because of their weapons. We were wrong. They're dangerous because they can turn anything into a celebration, a game, or a taco. Dr. Morgan's final report to the UN that year was surprisingly brief. Humanity's integration with galactic society proceeds apace. While some species remain cautious about our chaotic nature, most have embraced it. The galaxy is learning that Earth's greatest export isn't our technology or our resources. It's our ability to find joy in the unexpected. P.S. The hegemony has officially classified dad jokes as a form of psychological warfare. They're not wrong. As night fell over Singapore, Morgan watched aliens and humans mingling at a street food festival. A vanguard warrior was attempting to eat a chili crab while his human friends cheered him on. Nearby, a group of alien tourists had discovered the concept of karaoke. "Think they'll ever truly understand us?" her assistant asked. Morgan watched an alien child teaching a human kid some kind of crystalline growth game while sharing Earth candy. "Maybe not," she smiled. "But that's humanity's real superpower. We don't need to be understood to be loved." Above them, the stars twinkled with possibility, and somewhere in the galaxy, another alien was discovering hot sauce for the first time. The war was over. The party, however, was just beginning.